can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Moore
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy, and I know at least half, if not 75% of our comment section right now is loading up about the signing of Ivan Demidov, 3-year entry-level contract to the Canadiens today. We will get to that very shortly. Don't you worry. But before that, we are going to tee up the Canadiens game against the Detroit Red Wings at the Bell Center with longtime play-by-play man for the Detroit Red Wings, Ken Daniels, joining us right now here on the Eye Test. Hey, Ken, how are you?
Good, guys. How are you doing? How are you?
What are they talking about up there in Montreal right now? The snow or some player from Russia?
It's snowing. Well, the talk, at least amongst our group, I know that he signed. We just don't need him playing tonight. Red Wings have enough troubles to worry about. Can you guys see me there or no? Am I in here?
We got you, Ken.
You do beautiful. All right. You know, I dressed up just for you, Pierre. All right.
I think I know where you got those clothes too. Are they over on the other side of the river from Detroit?
No, I used to go there, but now they're from Alexander's in Northville, where Kenny Holland goes, Chris Osgood goes. I even know Will Smith goes. They did Kenny Holland's Hall of Fame jacket. They do a wonderful job. I'm not in his price category. I can't quite get the suits that Kenny Holland gets. However, they do a beautiful job, Alexander's of Northville.
Jimmy, I won't say the name of his old haberdasher, but I can tell you that many Red Wings people used to frequent that haberdashery on the Canadian side of the border.
Right. I have
That's right. Just too hard going back and forth now, you know. That's a bit of a pain.
Way to go, Kenny. Hey, by the way, Ken, it's really good to see you. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're up against it.
Of course. No, I got some minutes for you guys. And obviously a big game tonight. And boy, when you just mentioned the Demidov signing and you got Slavkovsky and how big are they going to be up front? I don't know if Demidov's hit 200 pounds yet. But Pierre, you know him better than I. What a player he's going to be.
Yeah, I know. He's a talented guy. It reminds me a lot of what Detroit was doing back in the day when they were going to the final and winning Stanley Cups and bringing in all these superheroes from Europe. You know, Hawk and Anderson did such an amazing job for those guys for so long. Now you got Nicky Bobroff working for Montreal. He reminds me of a younger Hawk and Anderson, Kenny. And you know what Hawk did for the Red Wings for so many years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He found talent, you know, when they found Datsuk in the 6th round and Zetterberg in the 7th round. And they all say, Ken Holland and Hawkins said if we were that smart, we wouldn't have waited that long.
Yeah, but, the other good one is there was a guy named Lidstrom, Jimmy. He was pretty good, too, and he was not a first-round pick out of Boston Oaks.
And he went through the draft a couple of times, which is amazing in itself, isn't it? I know.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Kenny, playoff hope still alive barely for the Red Wings, but in your, quickly, how could you sum up why they're in this situation where they might not be alive much longer?
Well, if you look at their numbers, the penalty killing, 10% worse than a season ago. So that's a big problem. Their power play is 5% better. So, you know, in a league where 5% difference can make all the difference in the world, the small percentage increases, I would say that's a big part of it. Their 5-on-5 scoring hasn't been good enough. Every metric under Todd McLellan has been better over 42 games, but their save percentage of .891 is still the same. And that's been a problem. Cam Talbot, as good as he's been to even keep them in the race, the last 4 games, he's got the worst shorthanded expected save percentage expected goals against in the National Hockey League. And that's a big problem. And that's why the penalty killing has been so horrific. That's a big part of it.
Hey, Ken, were they blindsided when Trey Augustine decided to go back to Michigan State and not sign?
No, honestly, I don't think so. It's funny. I sat with Steve this morning and that conversation did not even come up. I don't think so, because next year Cam Talbot's under a deal. Now you have Peter Mrazek for another year too. I don't know what they're going to do, but if they ever thought that Sebastian Cossa was going to play 40 games next year with Cam Talbot, that's not going to happen. But somebody's going to get hurt. I would think if Cossa is even in Grand Rapids for another half year and plays 20 to 25 through injury, gets a taste of the National Hockey League, that's great. But I think Augustine another year out when you've got Cossa, and then you try to upgrade your goaltending next year. I guess by the looks of it with Mrazek and Talbot, I don't know how Lyon comes back. But honestly, Pierre, I don't think Trey Augustine I don't know. Is he Tom Barrasso? Is he coming right up and ready to play? If I remember correctly, the goaltender in Buffalo was supposed to win Rookie of the Year. I don't know what it was a season ago, and hasn't done anything yet.
Devon Levi. Yeah. No,
So hasn't done anything. So I don't know. Great what they've done in Calgary, but I think that's really few and far between, isn't it?
it is. No, it is,
Like
and that's why on this show, Kenny, I'm going to vouch for you. I told all the listeners here, you can be raving about Jacob Fowler all you want. Jacob Fowler needs to go to the American Hockey League. And I was surprised that Augustine didn't sign just to speed the process up for him and for the Red Wings. But that being said, he's in their backyard in East Lansing.
Right.
It's not like this that far away.
Right.
You know?
And the Spartans have been great, and they have a great relationship with Adam Nightingale at Michigan State. So it really didn't shock me at all. I think it'll be most interesting to see what happens with Sebastian Cossa next season and how many games he plays. And then you have a succession plan, and another couple of years from now, up maybe comes Augustine, but that's a long way away.
When you're looking at that roster right now, Ken, is there one other area, whether it's defense, center, wing, that you think they really need to improve the depth in, whether that's through free agency trades or bringing some guys up?
I think it's another left shot D. For one, you've got Sider on the right side. Ben Sherratt will be in the last year of his deal. Petrie's up this year. You've got Simon Edvinsson there. So you've got a right shot D coming in Axel Sandin Pellikka if he's not ready to play and doesn't stick next year. I would say that. And just like Montreal, looking for a 2C. I mean, from Compher and Kopp, and maybe Casper can be that guy. Casper is a terrific young player, gritty, 200 foot, so smart, sticks his nose into everything. He's been piling up the points. And it's funny because Larkin and Raymond have been quiet since Four Nations. I think a big part of that, and you wouldn't think it at the time, was the injury to Andrew Kopp, because Kopp gets hurt.
That's right.
Comper's not a 2C. You have to move Casper in the second line, and they've had rotating wingers from Soderblom and Rasmussen and Tarasenko, who just doesn't seem to fit on the top line. And now you've got Casper with DeBrincat and Kane, and now you got DeBrincat with Kane and Larkin. So they're trying to find a 2C and a left shot D, I think, are their biggest needs.
Oh boy, he just nailed it. He took the fur right out of my coat, because that's exactly where they got to go. The 2Cs, and Casper's a really good player. And you know what, Jimmy, and I think Ken will speak to this, and I hope Steve's been taking out Steve Yzerman getting hit pretty hard. I don't think Casper's there if it's not for Steve Yzerman. I know he was a huge proponent of drafting him. He's a big fan of the kid. And I think the Red Wings have actually drafted really well. Ken talked about Simon Edvinsson. Ken, you see him all the time. Like, tell our viewers and listeners how good he is. I know how good he is, but you tell them.
Yeah, he moves the puck well. He's very smart. Sometimes he can almost be so lackadaisical, like he thinks he has more time than he does because he is so calm with the puck. I know we often spot him on the bench looking at the tablet. I don't know how you guys feel, but I hate when guys are looking at the tablet. They're trying to get. I loved when Torts just said, "No more of that." Look what happened to Torts. But I think now, even some of the guys I talk to, and not just Edvinsson, I'm not just talking about him, but the older guys who say, the younger guys, they get so fixed on it. Watch the game, see the play develop in front of you. If you want to look at a commercial timeout, do that. But I think that would be Simon's big thing, and he might tell you the same thing, is not to worry about the last play so much. Just see the game, settle down, and he can do that. He's going to be excellent, and for the most part, a plus player on this team, which is not have a lot of pluses on it.
Ken, is there a player this season that maybe took you by surprise and all of a sudden you feel like this guy is a key component going forward?
Well, Casper for one. I think Albert Johansson, another one.
Yes.
In a third pair D, and under Newsy, didn't get a lot of ice time, and they're willing to live with his mistakes. But again, he's not a big player. Uses body position well. Will stick his nose in there. Yeah, can he get beat on some plays physically? Sure, but he's going to gain some weight, and I think he's been pretty good. And for a lot of this season, when he was paired with Simon Edvinsson during Petrie's injury, he was playing his offside, and he played with Simon and his offside in Grand Rapids too, left shot playing right side. Now he's with Justin Hall in a third pair. Let's be honest, the third pair in Detroit needs to be upgraded for certain, but I think Albert Johansson took a big step this year. Elmer Soderblom can be a player. They know that. If he's so big at 6'8", if he just learned to be a little bit meaner. And he was playing with Austin Watson, who just called back up. We're not sure about one guy who's hurt for tonight, but he was playing with Austin Watson in Grand Rapids, and just taught him, you can be meaner. You can be mean. Same thing that Austin was working with Nate Danielson in Grand Rapids and teaching him the game. So if Elmer just puts a little more oomph into his play, I think he can be a really highly skilled, good third-line player in the National Hockey League.
For many moons, Ken Daniels did so many games in St. Louis, Missouri, because Detroit and St. Louis used to love to hate each other. Ken, what about the St. Louis Blues under Jimmy Montgomery? I know they had a tough loss last night in Winnipeg. 12 in a row before that, though, Ken.
Yeah, pretty darn solid. And Robert Thomas, they've just taken that extra step in Binnington since Four Nations, and I still don't maybe know what Boston was thinking, but a nice turnaround there with the coaching change, just like it was in Detroit. But they're solid in all aspects, and for the winning streak that they had and a club record. And remember, back in 2019, did the same thing when they were dead last in January.
Yep.
Ran it again, but a game like that Detroit went into St. Louis, that was a game that they had to have, that they tied it late and then lost in overtime. That was a crusher, especially going into a game like tonight. You're watching the game the other night and you say, boy, you need a Nashville victory. And that didn't happen with Montreal. And the Canadiens just, they've got the mojo going. Montreal's just got something going, much like St. Louis. And when you're on that roll, it's tough to do, because even if the Red Wings run the table, they still need somebody else to help clear it off, because they still need help outside. So it's going to be tough. But if Red Wings can win 5 of 6, Montreal can't get any more than 3 points realistically if you think 89 is the cutoff. The funny thing is, at the start of the season, and I predicted last year the Red Wings would have 90 points. They had 91 and didn't get in on the empty net goal, Washington.
Oh, yeah.
And the Red Wings were in here, and Patrick Kane won it in a shootout, which was the quietest shootout win ever, because it didn't matter at that point. And this year I thought the Red Wings would have 88 points and just miss. And I'm not sure they're going to get to 88. But if they could, there's a chance. We looked up the numbers for tonight. If the Red Wings win in regulation, forget the 3-point game or they'd pretty much be done. If the Red Wings win in regulation tonight, their percentage chance of making the playoffs improves to 12%. If they lose in regulation, it goes to 0.5, done. So that's how big this is to get 2 points tonight. In regulation, there's no other choice.
Ken is spot on, Jimmy. And I know you're the next question, but I want to ask this to the man that I believe called the first 2 games that Lane Hudson ever played in the National Hockey League.
That's right.
I believe that Ken Daniel did that. So, Ken, what surprises you about Lane Hudson?
The size and how elusive he is, the long stick, how he sees the ice, and I guess his brother's an even better skater than he is. Can't wait to see that, but now still playing in BU in the Frozen Four. But just the number of points he puts up when so many people could have drafted him and didn't. I think what the Chicago Blackhawks, and he was born in Holland, Michigan, grew up in Chicago. He idolized Patrick Kane. And when I see him and the twitch factor and on the stick and how he sees the ice, it's a little bit like Kaner, how he can just dust it off and play the game, and grew up watching him and loving him. And I watched him, and from the first game I saw him, they said, boy, this guy can be really crappy defensively. Boy, he's going to give up the puck a lot. And the more I watch him now, I don't see it. And I believe since Four Nations, among defensemen, he is the best plus-minus in the National Hockey League. Unreal. So I'm looking forward to watching him again tonight and going up against Kane. I know that Larry Murphy said to me the other day, how come, unlike Ovechkin, they don't have me and Gary Bettman following Lane Hudson around, who's going to break my rookie assist record? I said, Murph, because you cost too much. You charge too much for that, Larry. So he's tied with Chelios now, right, for the Canadiens rookie defense points record, I believe, right? Points, and he's too shy of Larry Murphy's assist record. I don't think he'll get to Murph's 76 points as a rookie D with the Los Angeles Kings. I know Murph is happy about that. He goes, records may made to be broken, but I don't want mine broken. But he'll live with the assist mark. If he gets 2 more, he ties Larry that way. And the multi-point games he's had. Yeah. That's amazing, too, for all time and right up there at the top. So, incredible.
Jimmy, before you go, Ken, I just want you to tell Larry Murphy that he bailed on our team at the Lemieux Fantasy Camp. I was his coach. We ended up winning, but we had to overcome the loss of Larry. So just tell Larry I deployed the 1-4 delay. He'll laugh his butt off.
The 1-4 delay. You got it. I will tell him.
So our team won, pulled a major upset against Kevin Stevens' team. but we deployed the 1-4 delay. Larry
1-4
will
delay.
laugh his butt off. You'll see.
You got it. I will let him know.
Ken, we know you're up against it. You got to catch the bus there. But, as we were texting last night, I know we got the horrible news about Greg Millen. And, our thoughts go out to him and his family. And also to you, Ken. I know you were close to him. I did not know him well, but the only time I met him, just seemed like a wonderful man. So
I love him. You figure when you beat cancer, it wouldn't be something of the heart that would do you in what he'd been through. And Greg, it was we did the Buffalo Ottawa series that Derek Plant, the father of Max, Red Wing draft pick, who looks like a pretty good player, scored the overtime goal, and Buffalo beat Ottawa in 7. And Greg Millen and I did that series, and my mentor, John Shannon, gave me Mark Askin as a producer. And I said to John, how come we got Mark Askin as a producer, Greg and I? He said, so you two wouldn't F it up. That's why. So I love working with Greg. We drove back and forth. He had a driver named Fred, who's since passed on. So say hello to Fred up there, Greg. We had just great stories and the laughs driving back and forth from Toronto to Buffalo and to Ottawa. I love spending time with him. And it was that game tape that I sent to Detroit to get the job. It was Greg and I on that. So miss him dearly, and to Ann and the family and the 4 kids and grandkids. What a wonderful, wonderful guy. I'll miss that infectious laugh always.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Enjoy the game tonight, and best of luck down the road. We'll get you on sometime soon.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you.
Ken Daniels joining us here on the Eye Test. And Pierre, I mean, the overflow of just stories and praise for Greg Millen today and last night as well has been great. He seemed like a really funny guy. Like that's the common thread I've gotten. I've read is that he was a jokester and he always had people laughing. I know Mitch Melnick was just talking about him on his show that you'll be on later. So our thoughts go out to his family and friends. Yeah,
no question about it. That was hard. I read about it last night and I was like, whoa. Yeah. That was right out of the blue. I wasn't expecting that. Wasn't expecting that at all.
Too young for sure. All right, Pierre. I see it in our comments section. Everyone is wondering about this Demidov signing. It seemed to materialize fast over the last few hours, but it is now official. He has signed a 3-year entry-level contract. I've been looking around for the numbers. Don't see them available anywhere yet. But Pierre, just your instant reaction to the fact that if all goes well with his visa and everything, he will be here in Montreal and start his pro hockey career in North America with the Montreal Canadiens.
It's fantastic. It's great. I mean, we talked about Nicky Bobroff before. Tremendous. Don't forget, Marty Lapointe, part of that too. So there's a lot of scouting work that went into this, but I'm surprised that this has come to fruition at this time. Mm-hmm. But obviously, St. Petersburg got eliminated from the playoffs, and they found a way, I'm sure through some pretty hefty negotiation, Montreal Canadiens to let this player out of his contract and let him come over and play for Montreal. So we'll see. But I think it's great. I mean, it brings energy to the room. I'll tell you that. And if he ever stands and deliver, it's going to be pretty good.
Imagine him and Hudson on a power play connecting there. But Pierre, one thing, and you were saying this off air, and you've said it on the air too as well, is I think you gotta just caution the expectations a bit because it is a big transition going from the K to the NHL. It's just a different game and it's a different style. So, for everyone out there who thinks he's going to come in and just rack up points instantly, just let him find his way first is what I would say. Would you not agree, Pierre?
I 100% agree. Let him find his way. Find his way.
So it should
and I'm, one of the good things is Marty Lapointe's good with young players.
Yeah.
He's been great with Lane Hudson. I think he's been unbelievable with Nicky Suzuki. He's done a great job with Slavkovsky. I think he's done a good job with young guys. Look at what he did with Jake Evans. Jake Evans, has really improved every year he's been in Montreal, but especially with this staff, with Letowski and with Marty up front. I mean, I think they've all improved a lot, which is really good.
Yep. Well, speaking of high-end picks that the Montreal Canadiens have and the great drafting that Bob Ruff and his staff, Marty Lapointe and everyone there have done, Pierre, you and I were talking earlier. We did a little exercise just, basically it was in reaction to the New York Rangers who just laid another egg last night. And
oh boy,
I'm not afraid to say it now. They're toast. That's it. It's kaput. And
I'm not going to say that because they're still mathematically alive. So you can say that, but I'm going to tell you what, the last 2 games have been really disappointing.
Yep.
If that's the best you have with what you did in New Jersey the other day, and then you come home and you're playing Tampa, and it's last chance. It's the last chance, and you don't stand and deliver. No.
Yeah. I think it's just unacceptable. But you look at them right now and everything that's happened. We've been constantly, right? It's been one of the biggest question marks. What is with this Rangers team? And they got to go down as one of, if not the biggest disappointments, at least in the East. I would say they're the biggest disappointment.
Nashville and the Rangers are the biggest disappointments in the NHL for sure. But Jimmy, why don't you tell the people about the exercise we did?
Yeah, so we're trying to figure it out.
This will speak to what has gone on in New York and what has gone right in Montreal and what's gone wrong in New York. So I presented this to Jimmy today. Go for it.
So Pierre said, all right, let's look into it here. How have they drafted in the first round since 2013 or 2012, 2013? So we went all the way back. And we're just going to go through this right now as I did on the phone with Pierre. So in 2012, in the first round, they take Brady Shea. Good pick, solid pick. But guess what? Not with them anymore. 2013, they didn't have a first rounder. 2014, they didn't have a first rounder. 2015, they didn't have a first rounder. 2016, they didn't have a first rounder. Finally, in 2017, they end up with 2 first rounders. But guess what? Lias Andersson and Philip Cheadle are not with them still. They've been moved on. So there you go. So 3 first rounders now since 2012 that are not with the team. You move ahead to 2018. They have 3 first round picks that year. They take Kravtsov at number 9. They take Keandre Miller at number 22. They take Niels Lundqvist at 28. Kravtsov and Lundqvist, as you know, are gone.
One player's left.
And only Keandre Miller's there. And I think we could all agree that, well, I still think he could be a good player. He regressed this year. This was not a good year for him. He was on the rise and he went backwards. Yep. So that's not a good sign there either. We go to 2019. They had 1 first round pick. And of course, it's Kaapo Kakko, who was traded this year, struggled in his development as a New York Ranger. And since being traded to Seattle, has been pretty good. He's found his way. I mean, he's not reaching his potential yet, but he's found his way. We move ahead to 2020. 2 first round picks, Lafreniere and Schneider. Both are still there, but again, kind of regressed this year, are not developing where you want them to be yet. We go ahead to 2021. They get Brennan Ottman at number 16. I don't know.
Wait, he's still a work in progress.
Exactly. Let's give it a TBD, Pierre, for sure.
TBD.
2022, no first round pick. 2023, Gabe Perreault just arrived, so definitely a
just
TBD.
Got there.
Yep. And then, of course, last year in 2024, they get EJ Emery. I don't know.
One assist this year at North Dakota. One assist.
So not a great start there in North Dakota. Let's look over now, compare them to the Montreal Canadiens and go all the way back. We'll go all the way back to 2012. So Canadiens with the 3rd overall pick that year in 2012, of course, took Alex Galchenyuk. That did not go well. We know that. That's well documented. 2013, with the 25th overall pick, they take Michael McCarron. He is now in Nashville. Has been moved on, kind of bounced around a bit. Yep. That didn't go well. 2014, they take Nikita Sherbek. I don't even know where he is now, Pierre. Do you?
No.
Okay, so he's not with Montreal. 2015, Noah Juleson at 26 overall, not with the Canadiens.
He's in Vancouver. He's in Vancouver.
2016, they take Sergachev, who, of course, was traded for Jonathan Drouin years later. All right, 2017, Ryan Palin, not with them anymore. 2018, Jesperi Kotkaniemi at number 3. Man, would a certain Kachuk look good right now there. 2019, now this is where the Canadiens
This is where the separation starts between the 2 teams.
2019, of course, at number 15 overall, the Montreal Canadiens take Cole Caulfield, who you got to think now, hindsight, was a steal at 15th overall there. 2020, they take Caden Gooley at 16th overall. Great pick. He's starting to blossom here in Montreal. 2021, they took Logan Mailloux at 31st overall, and they had a ton of good picks after that as well. 2022, Yuri Slafkovsky at number 1 overall, and at 26 overall, they take Philip Mazar.
Well, who they take in the 2nd round?
Owen Beck and the aforementioned Lane Hudson at 62nd overall.
Do you know who had the 63rd pick in that draft?
The New York Rangers.
The New York Rangers had, and you know what? I'm going to bet you money they would not have taken Lane Hudson.
I'm with you on that, Pierre. I'm with you on that. And then, of course, 2023, they take Reinbacher at 5th overall, and Fowler was right behind him at 69th overall in the 3rd round. And then last year, just a great draft for the Canadiens. They take Demidov, who's now arriving from Russia, at 5th overall. At 21st overall, they take Michael Hayes. And then they went with Koivu, Sawyer, Protz, Thorpe, Vagnus, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Ben Merrill, Connon, and Bergquist. So you just look at the difference there, Pierre. That explains a lot right now as to where the Montreal Canadiens are headed and where the New York Rangers are.
It started in 2019. There were 2 cars that were going the same road, and then one veered to the championship plateau, and the other one kept going straight into Never Never Land. Yep. So the Canadiens are the one that veered off to championship land. The other guys kept going straight. And that's the biggest difference. And so they're the 2 teams battling for that. I know Detroit thinks they're still in it. Columbus thinks they're in it. But those are really, it's Rangers, Montreal that are really after it. And you see why it's changed.
Yep. Pierre, you know, the other day we were talking, I forget.
Did you like that exercise, Jimmy?
It was great. I loved it. And I'm connected.
I was driving on a highway in a different part of the United States, and I'm doing this exercise with Jimmy, and I'm like, Jimmy, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Really?
As we go through it.
We're going through it. I'm going.
And you kind of knew it in the back of your head, but when you actually go through it and you list the names and you're like, whoa.
I know. And I said to Jimmy, I said, I'm driving in the middle, and I won't tell you where I am right now, but I'm driving in the middle of a pretty remote place. And I go, I don't have anything in front of me, but I know that this was a major foul up by this one team compared to the other team.
Yep. And as I pointed out to you too, as I was going through that, I was thinking about the team I've covered for a while, the Boston Bruins. Same thing. I mean, I think it all goes back to the way they've drafted over the last 10 years. It just shows you how important scouting is, getting to the games, not just going by numbers and not going by video, getting to the games, having bodies on the ground, boots on the ground, as you like to say. It's imperative. And Pierre, the one thing I'll say about the Rangers, right? Because we all remember when, you know, Jeff Gorton, who's now in Montreal, but when he was with there, he wrote that famous letter to the fans that we're going to go into a rebuild. Then all of a sudden, what was it? 2 years later, Panarin falls in their lap, right? He says, I want to come to New York. That's where I'm going to go and sign. I'm not saying you don't sign Panarin, you don't take him there, but you know, when you look back at it, and we discussed this the other day, how important is it? And I think the Canadiens have showed this the most out of any team, and a credit to them for doing it. Don't get distracted by early success in your rebuild. Don't let that be fool's gold, right? Don't let that veer you off the path. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with the Rangers. Like, you know, all of a sudden they're like, all right, forget it. We're not in a rebuild anymore. When they should have just kept going. Now, you can still be good, but you can still draft well and continue down that path. And I feel like they just splintered off that path when that happened.
It's going to be really interesting. Well, they also moved Jacob Trouba, who was supposed to be their captain and the role model for their organization, and they basically destroyed him in the New York media. Mm-hmm. And he's not the only one. Look at Kreider. Look at Zibanejad. They've had some issues there. But what I find interesting when you compare the two, there's one thing that's constant between the two teams. Jeff Gorton. Mm-hmm. The Rangers punted Jeff Gorton because of internal office politics and sabotage. They did. Mm-hmm. Yep. And the Montreal Canadiens brought him in to stabilize and fix what had gone wrong. Yep. Because there was stuff going wrong.
Yeah. And
he did it. And I think a lot of what went wrong in Montreal was when they traded Sergachev for Drouin, Jimmy, and they were trying to put Drouin in the center ice position, and that wasn't going to work.
I remember you advising against it. You were
adamant right away. I was like, you can't do this to this kid. You're going to destroy him.
Especially in his hometown, too, you know?
It was no good.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway, that's what they brought Gorton in to kind of make sure that stuff didn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and you're looking over Alex Evanowski, as we're saying, was asking, you know, what happened with Davison as well. That's another guy that I don't know the details, but it seems like
John again, it was office politics with Glenn Sather on that one. And that's obvious. John and Jeff Gorton got released the same time, same day.
Yep.
But just so everybody understands, there would be no Panarin in New York had it not been for John Davidson, because John left Columbus to go to New York, and he's the one that facilitated getting Panarin there. And nobody gives him enough credit for that.
Exactly.
He did a really good job on that. Really good job.
He did for sure. So there you go. I mean, when you're trying to break down what went wrong with the New York Rangers, remember that exercise we just gave you there. It tells a lot. Pierre, last night, as I was saying, that you mentioned it there, the Blues streak comes to an end. When that happens,
they'll be okay.
I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine. But when it happens, I don't know what the longest win streak you've been involved with as a coach or management is. But when it happens, how do you approach it for the team? Because you just been on this run, and all of a sudden,
you just got to move. You just move on. You just move on.
Don't.
You got it. The schedule's pretty unforgiving.
Yeah,
you move on. You don't have to cry over spilt milk. Just move on. Let's start another one. I don't know the longest. I think I might have been 11 games. I got to look it up. I'm going to say 10, 11 games.
Well, what'd you do in that playoff run when you guys went on there?
We won 11 straight.
There you go. Nobody's ever done that
but
again.
I think in the regular season we might have. No, that playoff streak in '92, we're the only team to ever do that.
Yep.
Won 11 straight games to win the cup.
That's amazing.
I think to this day, like I think there was a point in the season earlier where we might have done 11 or 12. Like I'd have to look it up, but I think we did.
Yeah. Unreal. What a run there. Well, we got a full slate of hockey tonight, Pierre, and we're going to get to that. And I'll get to my picks in a bit. But obviously, a lot of people focused on that Red Wings Canadiens game right now. Another one, Pierre, that I just want to touch on quick with you before we discuss our sponsors and I give my sick pick of the night. The Maple Leafs are in Florida on the first of a back-to-back that will take them to Tampa Bay right after that. If they win both, they pretty much win the division, Pierre. You've been high on this Maple Leafs team. Florida is getting some guys back, but I want to point out, we talk about that Four Nations curse. Sam Bennett has been shut down for the rest of the season. They're expecting him back for game one of the playoffs. But Pierre, just another victim of this Four Nations curse.
Hey, I don't want to say we told you so, but we told you so.
Yep. I mean, when you look across it, Pierre, the only team that I think directly benefited from the Four Nations would be the aforementioned St. Louis Blues, because I think it revitalized Bennington.
It definitely did. You know what else, too? It helped Parayko, but then Parayko got hurt coming out of it. But that's really the first time Parayko had a chance to play with elite guys like that and be around them. And I think it's going to help St. Louis long-term for that, 100%. But one of the best things that happened for St. Louis, Kyrou didn't make the team. Robert Thomas didn't make the team. So, Robert Thomas driving that ship. Braden Shen didn't make that team. No, he's an important guy too. So I'm gonna
add one more name to that, Pierre, that didn't make the team, but he's not on the ice behind the bench. Jimmy Montgomery didn't make that team as a coach, and that gave him 2 weeks to kind of be like, all right, this is what I got here, and start to really learn about what he had in that roster.
One of the best parts about Jimmy, I think, being out there, he wasn't afraid to have Claude Julien on the bench with him. He wasn't afraid to have Steve Ott on the bench with him, and he deferred to those guys. And this is not to be mean to people in the league, because every guy who works in the league, or woman that works in the league, I respect them because I know how hard it is to work in the league. The politics of hiring people in the league has to stop. Has to stop. It's hurting. If you were an owner, you really wanted to hear the truth. A lot of guys are getting hired, and different people are getting hired around the league that shouldn't be getting hired. Just telling you.
And here's the other thing too, Pierre, and I'm sure you'd agree with me. And knowing you, I don't think you would do what was done in Boston if you were in management, is that if you bring a new guy in, okay, I understand when he first gets there, you have people that were already on the staff in place. Like you just mentioned, you see how they get along, and it's gone great in St. Louis. But on the other hand, okay, now that he's gone past one season, do you not agree with me that coach should have a little more say in who's on his bench and who's part of his team?
Yeah.
And that didn't happen.
This is part of what, and this is not a knock on anybody that's there. They're all competent people, but chemistry matters a lot with the staff.
Exactly. That's all.
It matters a lot. I can't even begin to tell you the people that I've seen win in this league for a long time. There's amazing chemistry on the staff, both at the scouting level, at the management level, at the training level. It matters. It really.
Yep.
And when you look at, you can have fights in scouting meet. Jimmy, I'm telling you, the best scouting staffs have unbelievable verbal and physical jousts during scouting. They do. And if you take that stuff personal, and you've heard me say it a million times, if you take stuff personally in this league, you're not going to make it.
No.
You just got to say, you know what, I'll let you do it today. We'll be better tomorrow, that kind of stuff. And for whatever reason, I don't know if that's happening anymore in a lot of places. I just don't think it is.
I'm with you on that. All right, let's get to our sponsors right there because I see we have a ton of questions right now. TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For a no-obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that is sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. And, of course, our gambling sponsor, Betway. Go all the way with Betway right now, and you can still get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. That's right. You can get paid to lose. Not a bad deal there. Scan that QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section on the website to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. It is only available for new customers. It is not available in Ontario right now. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 18 plus and always bet responsibly. All right, let's go to my sick pick of the night, and there's two of them.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Betway.
All right, I'm going to stick with one game, but I got two bets in that game, and that is the Montreal-Detroit game right now. These teams tend to go over, so I'm going to tell you, take the first period over. It's hit every time they played this season. They like to score often and early when they meet each other. And then I'm going to go with the Habs, and that's at minus 110 value. That's very low right now over at Betway. Get that while you can. And then I'm going to take the Canadiens minus 1.5 on the puck line, meaning they have to win by 2 goals. You can get that at plus 135. All right, let's go to the Q&A. What do we got? Tim G. Demidov comes in. Is he on the first PP? And if so, does Slav come off? Or who comes off the second unit?
Well, they didn't put Lane Hudson on the first PP for a month and a half, and he was all there in training camp. I can't think they're putting him on the first PP. No, he'll have to earn his spot to get on there. Hopefully they'll put him on the second line and give him an opportunity to show some of his skills. But if he's on the first PP, that's a bad message. I don't think this coaching staff is that much of a neophyte staff that they would do that.
Agreed. All right, next question. Sound the siren. How long does it take to create transfer visas? That's a good question. In corporate world, it's painful.
Very easy. Not long at all.
Okay. Though we'll see what happens when he has to go into the States.
So
right?
I'm not going to tell you the city I was in where I was working, but we needed to do something on a trade. And one of the things we did is we made sure that people in the immigration office, they always had very confined and nice seats that they could sit in when they come to games. So those deals can get done very quickly.
Smart move. Smart move. All right, next question. Frank O. Question. Rottenberg floated the idea of scrimmage games between NHL and KHL teams as something he'd like to see. Your thoughts on this? I don't see it happening right now, at least, or even this summer. Who knows? Given the political climate, I don't know. We'll see.
That's the number one thing holding it back. It's a political climate.
I mean, I think hockey fans. I just
I'll just say this right now. And Jimmy, I don't talk politics ever. We've been working together for 2 years. I never talk politics with you. But what I'm going to say is, and I mean this sincerely, Russia still produces massive amounts of elite players.
Mm-hmm.
Like those guys don't want to be soldiers; they want to be hockey players. So at some point, hopefully, this stuff all ends and we can get back to being civilized and getting people back together again. And I would think at some point there will be NHL teams playing against KHL teams, but I don't know when that'll be. and it shouldn't be now anyways.
No.
But I don't know when it'll be.
All right, next question. GB, can you talk about Tyler Thorpe? He signed today as well. He's kind of getting lost in the news. I feel bad for him, and his assets and potential.
Not really.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, unfortunately. All right, but I'll try and research it a bit. Next question. Mike, Demidov is a big part of the future. Do you think getting him over here now was accelerated with the playoffs being a possibility? Him getting this experience, in my view, was important. Agree 100%, Mike.
Yeah,
For sure. I mean, this is great for him to come into this environment before actually playing his first full season. I agree. All right, next question. A to Z me, how does Marty use Demidov in your opinion? Second line with line A and Newhook, second wave of PP.
yes.
Yeah, I think as Pierre said, second line. I think you're right on A to Z me. All right, next question. AGZ, do you think a center like Dvorak is better for Demidov when he is inevitably inserted into the lineup?
No, they're not going to break the third line down. The third line with Gallagher, Josh Anderson, and Dvorak is set. They're not breaking that down. That's an amazing weapon that they have. Amazing weapon that they have.
All right, next question. Morantz, hello, gentlemen. Not sure if I understand this correctly. Demidov can play with the Habs the remaining season games plus the playoffs. A simple yes or no is sufficient.
Yes.
Thanks. Yes on both counts. All right, next question. Ron LaRoque, what will MSL have to adapt to going from a regular season coach to rookie playoff coach?
Matchups.
Mhm.
Matchups are a big thing in the playoffs because you're playing the same team all the time. In-game adjustments. Doesn't mean you can't do them, but you got to do them quick. And again, you know, I was fortunate. I worked with the best bench coach in the history of the sport. There's so many things that you can learn if you're around people that have the experience of having done it. And in the playoffs, if you get caught once with a bad matchup and it ends up in the back of your net, that can be the difference between winning and losing playoff series.
Agreed. All right, next question. Alex Evanowski, I really want Detroit to be great again. I do too, Alex. Growing up, I always looked at them like the Yankees of their time. How much longer till Detroit is back is the question I ask myself as a fan every day. Look, I kind of thought this would be a year that they made it in the playoffs. So I'm wondering the same thing. They got to do it next year. I mean, because I don't know what they do after that if they don't. Next year has to be the year.
Oh, Jimmy, if they don't make the playoffs next year, it's messy there. It's going to be real
a lot
messy
of change.
there.
Yeah.
That'd be, and I don't wish that on anybody because I've walked in their shoes. I don't wish that on anybody. But if they don't, they'll be told you need to be a playoff team next year. And if not, I think it gets real messy.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, I'm so glad the Flames took their time with Wolf and Coronado. I just wonder why teams rush their players.
Randy, we're on the same team as you. Yeah. And I think, Randy, I was telling you about Matt Coronado for a long time. And they did the right thing. When they brought him out of Harvard, they gave him a little taste. And then they said, you're going, even though he probably stayed in the same apartment, you're going to go play for the Wranglers. You're not playing for the Flames. And then eventually he worked his way back up, got lots of reps in the American Hockey League, and boom, there he is. Same thing with Dustin.
I think it's kind of twofold in terms of why teams tend to rush their players these days. I think one thing, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, that I think has a huge effect is social media and the hype that gets built up over players maybe way too early, right? Yeah. And then the other one is, as you always advise, a lot of teams don't know their players well enough. They don't watch them enough. They don't go see them in person enough. And I think that's what happens.
Yep. Or the people evaluating that do go see them in person aren't qualified to do it.
That's another reason for sure.
And there's one other reason. It's called the salary cap.
Yep.
And you need cheaper labor. So the younger guys on entry level are far cheaper than the established guys.
That's a big one. All right, next question. AGZ, what would be the price to pay for Lafreniere? Needs a change of scenery. I don't know what he could net right now on the trade market, Pierre.
I don't know. That would be an interesting one. I'd love to see what the Rangers would want back.
Right. I know.
You know, they maybe dangle him and they say, this is what it's going to cost you to get him, and try to create a bidding war. But right now, I don't know how.
You're selling low right now.
Oh. Okay, go pull it up for me, please. What did they get for Capo Caco? I know what they got, but I want to hear the fine print.
Yep. So the exact deal was Will Borgen, the defenseman, third and a 6th-round pick in this year's draft.
So second overall got you Will Borgen, who you signed to an extension for $20 million. And what was it, a 3rd and a 6th round?
In this year's draft, yes.
Okay. I don't think that's a lot for a second overall pick.
So I don't think you're getting just as of now. We'll see. I would hold on to him.
Do you think that's a lot for a second overall pick?
No, I don't. I think that was a diminished asset who now unfortunately is finding his potential somewhere else. So,
yeah.
All right, next question. Sound the siren. Question, Pierre, do you have any idea of the turnover or attrition for the drafting and development coaches in the NHL? I'd be curious.
Well, there are no drafting coaches. Those are scouts. Development coaches, not as high a turnover. They're starting to be monitored a little more closely now. One of the things that protected a lot of these people for a long time was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know, management would go to the owner and say, look, we're dealing with something that nobody's ever dealt with before. So we got, this is a weird time for scouts and for development guys just because of COVID. So that bought them some time. I think that COVID stuff is out the window now. And so we'll see what happens in the next 2 to 3 years. Coaches paid the price. Coaches didn't get affected by COVID. They just got fired.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to flip now. And I think the decision makers are going to be more held to the fire than the coaches have been. And I think
agree.
The smart owners are going to start realizing we got talked into a bad situation.
Mm-hmm. The bullseye is going to be on the GMs now going forward. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, do you see Backstrom and Oshie coming back next season? Unfortunately, no, Ethan. From everything I've read and spoken to people,
I don't. I wish I could say they would be, but I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons. Obviously, the record in the moment, but that was another reason that it was so emotional with them the other night with Ovechkin. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, what are some attributes to the reason the Blues are where they are this season? What makes them such a scary playoff team? Just the way they attack, Pierre, and their forecheck to me. That's and obviously Bennington right now in the
structured in the neutral zone. Some guys really improved. Justin Falks had a tremendous year. I think Cam Fowler going in there on the trade. Nobody talks about Cam Fowler enough. Just the way he's moved the puck out of their zone, they become a harder team to forecheck against. Obviously, Parayko, before he got hurt, was a big part of what was going on there. Bennington, as Jimmy said, coming out of the Four Nations. But Robert Thomas is one of the best superstar players in the league that nobody watches. Kairu's got 30-plus goals again, which is amazing. Not trading Braden Shen. Not trading Braden Shen was a big thing, too, because everybody wanted Braden Shen, and they didn't trade him. So there's a lot of different things.
Yep. The offer sheet players for sure. I mean, look at the way they
and that was the last part is getting the guys from Edmonton. Getting Broberg and getting Holloway for offer sheets, it costs them nothing but draft picks. Jeez Louise, come on. All
right, next question. CB, you fellas are the best. Thank you, CB. We appreciate it. Excellent chemistry. Refreshing to actually hear boots on the ground insight. What do you see as a potential point ceiling for Cole Hudson? Will he need time in Hershey?
So I think he'll need a little time in Hershey. He's very similar. He's very similar to Lane. What they've done really well in Washington is they've utilized Hershey as a major asset. And if you look at the Calder Cups and the runs to the Calder Cup, all those young guys start to get better there. I don't know if they take Cole out or not this year. Cole's going to be similar to Lane. I don't know if he's got the same offensive flair when it comes to passing that Lane does, but I think he might shoot the puck just a little better. Not a lot right now, but just a little better than Lane does. But they're pretty similar.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell, thoughts on Elias Lindholm in the past couple games? Do you think he's starting to get comfortable in Boston? Yeah, Ethan, he's played great the last few games, but where was this 3 months ago, or 2 months ago? It's kind of like it's like the Buffalo Sabres do this every year, right? So it's great, but I mean, too little, too late, in my opinion.
I don't know to say anything. Jimmy nailed it.
All right, next question. Mike, Demidov talk is nice and all, but we have a huge game tonight. Good for you, Mike. Stay in the moment. What do the Habs need to do to win this game? What are Detroit's weaknesses? Well, Mike, as I said in my picks, it's been keeping the puck out of their net, whether it's been, as Ken Daniels said, some suspect goaltending or bad penalty killing. Just take advantage of every power play you have and just get the puck on net. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is forced turnovers in the neutral zone, because Detroit's pretty layered in the neutral zone, but if they're turning it over, the Canadiens' counterattack game is really good. Yeah. And we saw that in Nashville the other day when they started to get back in the game. It was their counterattack game that mattered. So I think if you can do that, Detroit will have a problem winning. They'll have a problem winning.
All right, next question. Is that it? I think we got a few more. There we go. Yeah, Mike Cadet. Does it cost Montreal 1 year in Demidov ELC? Yeah, if he plays.
The clock's ticking. If he plays, Yep.
Once he plays, it's ticking. All right, next question. P, question. Do you agree with the sentiment that if Demidov was in the 2025 draft, he'd be the consensus first overall pick?
Depends on how bad people want Schaefer. Schaefer, the defenseman, but I think Demidov would go at 2. Mm-hmm. If people cherish the defense part of it. If they didn't, then there's a good chance he'd go 1. Yes.
All right. Next question. Ethan Russell, is Buffalo in the same boat as Detroit about needing to make the playoffs next year? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Big, probably more so.
Very good. That's a very good comparable, by the way, what Ethan just did.
Next question. Brady Baumgart. What odds do you give the Habs in round 1 against the Caps? 2010 Magic, maybe? I'm already on record, Brady, is saying I think they can beat them. I don't think this is going to be as blowout series as some may think. I think this is going to be a good series if it is them.
This might be one of the only series where you could say the Canadiens go in with maybe a goaltending advantage of all the teams they would have to play potentially.
Yep.
Because the goalies for Washington haven't been proven in the playoffs.
No.
So, yeah. They'd have a chance.
Next question. Tim G. Kuznetsov has been released. Is this a sign he wants to play with Demidov? Nice second-line center in Montreal. Yeah. I don't think he's coming back to the NHL yet.
I don't know what's going on there. I've got a person. That's why I've been looking over my phone. A friend of mine has been contacting me with Russian ties. So I don't know something's going on. I don't know what it is. It's nothing nefarious. I just don't know something's going on there right now.
And that's happening right now as we speak.
Yeah. That's why I'm looking over, because I'm getting these notes. Yeah.
Next question. CB, can you explain some of the intricacies with the transfer portal? Wondering what limits rules must be adhered to. Is there a max amount of transfers? Also, is there a limit with CHL recruits?
You can take as many transfers as you want as long as you have the scholarship money.
Yep.
So there are no real rules on that. You can't tamper with a kid until he gets in the portal. Mm-hmm. But there's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because they're family advisors. So most kids don't go in the portal unless they know they got something on the other side. Again, having lived through the portal experience with my son, I am not a fan of the portal, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite. It was a good tool for my son to go through, and it was a good learning lesson for him to go through. And we don't regret anything about going to play at Northeastern, even though he cherished his time at Colgate. But each player has to make their own decision. It's not one size fits all. For some kids, the portal's really good. For other kids, it's a disaster. It's a disaster.
All right, next question. Vincent Noel. Hello, gentlemen. Question for Pierre. Is it true that Jaromir told teams he wouldn't come to Pittsburgh, but told you guys take me?
No. So, no, that's not true. But that's urban legend. It's definitely out there.
You've heard this rumor before?
I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Craig Patrick was the genius behind all the stuff with Jaromir. And Jaromir was playing in Kladno at the time, which is he's owner of the team now, and he still plays there. But at that time, those teams were having a tough time financially. Things were not good, things especially because of, what happened with the Iron Curtain coming down. There were some tough times in Czech Republic back then, and also in Slovakia. And so money spoke, and the rest of it walked. And Craig had a lot of connections. Craig was so smart on this. Craig
Yeah.
Patrick, he was the genius behind the Jaromir Jagr stuff. And I just spent a whole lot of time with him at Mario's fantasy camp. Brian Trottier, Craig, and I went out together, and we were talking about Jaromir and, you know, how special it was to draft him and work with him and, you know, be part of it. And Brian and I both said he doesn't end up in Pittsburgh. It was not for Craig Patrick. So,
yeah. Awesome. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, the Bruins or Rangers in a better spot come the next few years? That's a great question, Ethan. I don't have an answer for that. I honestly don't. I'd have to think about it. But, I mean, in terms of cap space, the Bruins are in a better spot, so maybe that gives them the slight edge. But I don't know.
We can't. I personally don't want to answer that question until after July 1st.
Okay.
I don't, and it's not because I'm trying to avoid the question, but I like Jimmy's point is spot on. Free agency is going to play a role for both those teams in terms of what they do going forward.
Yeah.
And I think I said it to you, Jimmy. If they don't identify the need for center iceman in Boston through free agency, then I don't think they have much of a plan. So we'll see. We'll see how it works. We'll see.
All right. Next question. P, why do teams have 9 games at the beginning of the season to decide if they want to burn a year of the player's ELC, but if they join late in the year and play less than 9, it still counts?
It's a good question.
That's a great question, Pig.
Good question.
Nice.
That'd be a good one for Bill Daly and Marty Walsh to talk about.
The same thing as you said that, Pierre.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. That'd be a good look at. I'm not going to give names, but there's certain agents that are very good negotiating those end of the year contracts for players to burn a year quick. So,
and who knows?
That's a very good. The one thing I would say, I think the 9 games at the beginning was to protect the major junior owners, so that you wouldn't keep a kid for all this time, where the kid could actually go back and help a junior team and help himself. Mm-hmm. So I think the 9 games at the beginning of the year is more to enhance the situation for major junior operators.
Do you think CHL, NHL agreement will change any of that, Pierre, or no?
You mean the NCAA and CHL?
Yeah. Yes, excuse me.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah, I was just listening to you. Yeah, I think it could.
Yeah.
I think it could.
It's
going to be interesting. Like, what happens to McCamey from Penticton? What happens to McKenna from Medicine Hat? Mm-hmm. There are other kids that are good players too, but there's some younger ones that are draft eligible either next summer or not this coming summer, but next summer and the summer after. Yep. And what are they going to do? That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
It was a good thing that they started the CBA talks early, because there's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot. I agree with you, Jimmy. Yeah. But I will say this.
But all in a good way.
It's all way more positive. I mean, I've been through some crazy ones too, you know, and this seems way more civilized.
Much better vibe for sure. So good on them to get that going. All right. We want to thank Ken Daniels for joining us. Always a pleasure to have him on.
It was great. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you. Right before you hop the bus to the Bell Center for the Red Wings Canadiens tonight. Thanks to everyone in the comments section for all your questions. Thanks to Shane working the boards. Thanks to you, the listeners out there. And Pierre,
I'll be on with Tony Marinaro tonight, post game after the Montreal-Detroit game. I'll be on with Tony. Big week this week. Montreal Canadiens, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday.
You guys are doing the Saturday too, or?
I would imagine that might be negotiated.
Okay.
I think that could be part of it.
Friday, and we'll tell everybody here. And remember, tomorrow we are dropping On Campus Friday 2 days early, just because the Frozen Four starts Thursday. So head coach Guy Godowski will be the featured guest tomorrow. That should drop at about 8 a.m. You can see it up on all our social feeds. And then, of course, it'll be up on YouTube. So find it there. All right, everyone. Enjoy all the hockey tonight. And we will talk to you tomorrow on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.